My favourite at the moment is probably the OG 2008 VIX white and black colourway.
Welcome to today's video, everybody. It is the fourth interview, and as I mentioned last video, it is with Angus Beer, a pure runner, a predominantly track runner, a bit of cross country as well. He's a mate of mine. I've raced him numerous times, both on the track and in cross country, and I can tell you Angus is a phenomenal runner. He's won 16 national titles, which is pretty crazy. He's run a 151 800 and a 352 1500, which again are pretty crazy times. So no doubt it's going to be a good interview. Hopefully you enjoy. Right, welcome today, Gus. Thanks for coming on. It's pretty cool to have
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it must be something different.
So we'll start off, like usual, bit of context about yourself, location, age, and however you got into running.
So I'm Angus. I'm from Sydney. I'm a 8:15 runner that also dabbles in a bit of cross every now and again. I started running at my first year 2 cross country carnival. Just loved it and got into a little bit of training and worked up from 1 run a week to now up to 6 or 7 depending on the week. So That's how I've come through it.
Any other sports when you were younger?
Not really. Played a little bit of soccer and dabbled in a bit of other things like nippers and stuff, but running was always the one for me.
Fair enough. Like the last video, we'll do a quick 10 questions, starting off with
easy
track session, sort of whatever it can be whatever you most look forward to, or
so my go-to track set is the broken 600s. So it's a 400 on about 60 and then 15 break and then an all-out 200. Take a few minutes break in between and repeat a couple of times, 3 to 4 depending on how I'm feeling.
And then what about your most dreaded track session?
That's much worse. It's 1200s cut downs. So start off at about 70s for the first lap, then go to 65 and then down to 60 on the last one. So that's a 1500 set, which is nice and tough. So we'll do that 3 or 4 times as well with long break in between. But it's always tough trying to slowly pick up the pace, and it makes you hurt.
Yeah, it sounds pretty tough.
Yeah.
Right, and I know you're pretty into your music, so what's one song
that
gets you going?
It's hard to pinpoint one, but pretty much anything Kanye, really. Big Kanye fan. Probably anything off Watch the Throne. That's the one where you can just chuck the album on and you'll be feeling it no matter what.
Yeah. And who's one runner that you would love to race? Like, it can be anybody.
Oh, that's a tough one. Because I feel like if I pick someone really good, then I'll just get absolutely hammered. I'm gonna have to go with probably Matt Centrowitz.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably my favorite runner. He's fun. Like his personality, so I'm sure we could have a bit of banter mid-race, which is what I like to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, then. Who's one track athlete, like one real tough guy that whenever you're going to race, it's going to be a hard one?
I'm going to have to either go with Luke Young and Ollie Raymond or Sam Clifford. They're my biggest competitors over the past few years. Unfortunately don't get to race them as much as I used to, with some of them going longer and then some of them being older as well. But it's always a good run at Nationals. Unfortunately missed out on the 15 this year at Nationals with the whole Corona stuff, but it's all right. We'll have plenty more races to come.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys will get a few more battles along.
It'll be fun. Would be fun.
All right, and your go-to spikes?
Should I pull them out?
Yeah, one for your 15.
Should I pull them out?
Yeah, go for it.
So my favorite at the moment is probably the OG 2008 VIX white and black colorway. I've got the green and blue colorway as well. And then we go with the mismatching Mambas as well. They're probably my two favorite. I'm going to grab two lefts here, but they're my favorite go-to as well for the 15 and 8, just depending on how I'm feeling that day.
Very nice. It does look good with the black and white.
Yeah, the Newington kit, even though I've graduated, still repping.
Right, and Luke or Jaden? That's Schofield's, by the way.
That's a tough one. I mean, surely they count as the same person. So I think I'm going to have to go with both. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble with them. They'll come at me. Political answer.
All right, and one Olympic race that you could just watch on end?
Going back to Matt Central, it's his Olympic 1500, just watching him control the race and come through in that last 400 with a 50-second last lap. It's just crazy to watch that he can just run basically my 400 PB just at the end of a race, which is insane, and it's always fun to watch.
Yeah, very good race to watch. Give it a watch if you haven't watched it.
Definitely.
If you just had to pick one, 8 or 15?
I mean, I've always gone and said, I don't know yet, hopefully trying to do both. And I've had phases where it's like the 1500, but I think for the time being and how this track season went, probably the 800, because I haven't had a quick 1500 this year. But yeah, so I guess the 800 at the moment, but we'll see where it goes in the future.
Yep, fair enough. And then if you had to race one race again, it could be, because you really enjoyed the race, like you felt good, or because you didn't particularly like the race. If there's one race you could go back and run, what would it be?
Probably would have been Perth All School Nationals last year in the 15. I mean, even the 8 as well. I made a couple of tactical mistakes. We sort of went for a tactical race instead of a quick race, and so we ended up running a 72 first lap, which in a 1500 is a little bit crazy, especially when the timed final before us ran a 4 flat, which is 64 pace. So we're already 8-9 seconds behind them after 400, and so I mean, I could have won our heat, but it was ultimately down to the quickest time on the day out of the 2 heats. So made a move probably about a K before I wanted to go, which is 2/3 of the race, which made me not have the finishing kick like I would have wanted to, and fell back into 3rd that race. Probably could have, as I said, pushed it up with Sammy when he made his big move with 150 to go, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Just got to make sure in the next race that I don't make the same mistakes.
You did make a pretty interesting race to watch.
Yeah, it wasn't fun from the inside, getting the stress going. We weren't even sure if we were going to medal winning the faster heat. So,
but I guess
it was interesting.
You live and you learn.
Yeah, and that's it.
All right, we'll move on to a bit of a discussion now.
All right, cool.
Something, Gus, that you've done that's probably not, mainstream for education-wise in New South Wales is do the IB, instead of HSC. And is that something that you always intended to do?
Not really. It sort of just came about. We were always told it was sort of rewarding, more of a well-rounded thing, but I mean that played a part in it. But I just felt like with that, where you have to choose one from each of like the 7 areas, that would make my choices for subjects a lot easier. So instead of just choosing from however many subjects there are in the HSC, I would choose between 3 or 4 in each of those 7, which made all the decisions a lot easier. And I guess I just went through and did it. Never had really big intentions with it or anything. And yeah, that was about it. And
did you enjoy it? Like, I mean, my school doesn't offer it, so I don't really get to see it.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty fun. I mean, you have different sort of structure assignments and all that sort of stuff, and there's a lot of research based assignments in it as well. definitely made it a little bit more stressful, seeing as the final exams are worth 80% of your grade, and then the other 20 was just one other assessment. And then also having it be a 2-year course, not just a 1-year course. Definitely made it interesting, but I don't think I was stressed too much coming into it. I sort of knew I had options either way, so I didn't stress out and have to just study 24/7. I just took it in my stride and did what I needed to do.
Yeah. So then, like throughout year 12, did you find it hard? Having finished now, looking back, did you find it hard to train and to study?
Not really. I was sort of in the position where I knew that my marks weren't going to matter as much as my running, I guess, in terms of the college situation. So I always put training first, and that led to a couple of late nights and whatnot, again, just finishing assignments and stuff. But I think training came first to me, and then just did the homework around it, and then fit in study where I could. But yeah, I didn't get too stressed, which is good.
Yeah, I guess that's good. But on college, I think maybe we'll talk about that a bit, because it is something that particularly a lot of runners and swimmers and, they have goals and aspirations to go to the USA, go to college, and that's something that you're doing. So, what was the process sort of like when you were picking the college and all of that?
I guess part of it was just gauging interest at first, seeing what schools were interested and whatnot. And then sort of from there, starting to iron it down into which schools I could see that I would fit in. I have a great relationship with my coach right now. I've been with Danny for 7 years. So I knew that being able to have a coach that I could really get along with was a big part of it, as well as their training philosophy and something that I could agree with, so that nothing would really happen in the 4 or 5 years that I was over there for. So that came into part of it. Also the past success, I guess the facilities as well, but not as much really, just seeing what they had to offer and which one I liked most, just based on gut feel a lot of the time, really came through. And then I ended up taking 3 visits at the end of last year, just before exams, which probably led to me not doing that well. But from there, that just made it a lot easier, going and seeing the facilities and the campus of the schools. It was a fun week and a half, all expenses paid for myself, and they get to just take you around, show you around, and try to convince you to come. So that definitely helped, and I found my home was at the University of Missouri. So we'll be going there in August, hopefully.
Very nice. Was it tough decision after looking at a couple others?
It was tough coming in. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I sort of left Mizzou, and I knew that was going to be the place to be. And I guess that was just the place that I felt most comfortable, most at home with. And from there, it was comparing, and I think I made my decision within half a week of coming home, and just had to slowly process it out and make sure that I made the right decision. But as soon as I was able to commit and make sure everything was all good, I was right there and making sure I signed those papers and was ready and committed to Missouri.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting, and definitely a place that I felt at home and can't wait to get over there for.
So when you do get over there, whenever that might be, probably a bit unsure right now. When you do get there, are you going to predominantly be doing track, like outdoor, indoor, and then a bit of cross country as well, or just track?
Well, I'm doing track and cross country. We're going to start off with cross country. I'm not sure what my situation is with this season coming up, like the immediate August season. And cross, I might get redshirted, which is where you just take the year off and extend out to 5 years instead of 4, but you can only compete 4 years out of those 5. So whether that just gives me the 3 to 4 months to adapt to the system, or I get in and racing, we'll see about that. But definitely over the 5 years, I'll be running a bit of cross here and there. But I mean, I enjoy track more anyway, so I'll be hopefully doing better things on the track, but still trying to put my foot in the circle for cross country and see what we can do there.
Yeah, it'll probably be pretty cool to race some of those cross country races. They do look.
Yeah, definitely different to what we have here. That's for sure. You never see 200 to 300 people in a race where they're all up the top. It's not like our GPS CS cross country where you're lapping half the field and that's 100.
And then what's one thing that you're really looking forward to when you get over there?
Definitely the community. Like it's a cool team environment that you definitely don't get to experience over here. I mean, with training groups, it's cool, but you only really get to see them 2 to 3 times a week when you're doing your training sets, and then if you're doing a long run with them. Whereas over here, I'm sharing a room, sharing a house eventually with them, and seeing them for practically every part of the day, except for when classes are on, which will be a real cool experience with the boys that I'm already pretty close with, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, that seems to be a pretty common theme, like the whole community, I guess, how you put it. That's what Amber said too, one of the triathletes that I think it was their second interview. So
yeah,
I'm sure.
Go watch that.
That'd be great.
If you haven't. Yeah, like when I came on my visit, I went for a jog with the team on their warm up, and like even just warming up, they had a group of 7 or 8 just all running together, and that was something that I didn't get to experience at school over here, and that was just a real cool experience that I can't wait to get over to.
Yeah, and then so after those sort of 4 or 5 years that you're at college for, where do you sort of want to be positioned, like as a runner, coming out of that?
I'm not really sure. I mean, hopefully just trying to continue the path that I'm on and keep improving and get into the pro scene, I guess. I guess we'll see how it goes and how I progress, but that's definitely a dream of mine. It has been for a long while to get into the professional running scene. Just because I feel like that's what I love to do, and it'll be real cool to get into. And yeah, hopefully that's how it all turns up, but we'll see. It's a long time away, so
yeah,
we'll just see how it goes.
Well, I mean, you put your research into the college, so I'm sure you're going to be set to hopefully do what you want.
Yeah, would be good.
All right, and then right now, obviously, training is, I don't know, just a bit different.
Yeah.
Is it affecting you a lot? Because I mean, for sort of myself, like the running is probably almost the most normal.
Yeah. That's definitely what it is. We're lucky enough to be able to run anywhere. We don't need a pool. We don't need anywhere where we can be riding a bike 50 k's an hour or however fast you guys go on that thing. We can practically just run anywhere. The worst thing that's happened is obviously the group meetings. Like we can't have over 2 people, so instead of having a big old pack, I can only run with one other person, which makes sense. A little bit tougher, but I mean it's not the end of the world. And I guess the worst part of it is just having the bay run completely covered with people, having to avoid them and whatnot. But that's about it. We're lucky enough to not be affected by anything.
Yeah. And before you go, like usual, give a few words of advice for, I guess, sort of younger track athletes, getting into the sport, and then also for runners or swimmers or whoever wants to go to college. Any advice around applying?
Well, with that, I guess just reach out and see where you can get into and where where you want to go, I guess. Just there's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there and seeing what you get back. That's the best thing to do in that situation, because you never know until you try. And that's pretty much it. The process sort of falls into your lap a lot. The coaches are really good at telling you what needs to happen. And so just if you're on the lookout, don't be scared to reach out to them, because a lot of the time you have to reach out to them rather than them coming to you, especially as internationals, because a lot of them don't have their international radars set up. But if you can get into their radar, then they'll be more than happy to talk to you most of the time. And don't be discouraged if they don't. Just keep going and keep searching for your fit.
But I might actually ask one more question that's sort of about usually a highly debated subject in the running world about Ks.
About Ks?
Yeah. How many Ks to run a week? Like, I know you're not particularly one that does a huge amount of Ks, and I'm not either.
No, I'm very low mileage. I've been doing, you can see half, even a third of what some of the guys that I race against do. I'm about 65 to 70 now, and 60 during track season, and then maybe 80 by the peak of cross country. But I always felt that a lot of the time, if you're just going out for super long runs, a lot of the time it's a lot of junk mileage as well. I personally like to think of the sessions as more important than anything else. So long runs are really just there for recovery and keeping the legs moving so that they're not stiff or anything, because running is the best way to loosen muscles. If you're just taking it easy, you're literally using the muscles that you need to use while running. So I'm always a big believer on slow mileage and low mileage as well on easy days, and then high intensity during the workouts, because I guess that's where you make most of your improvements. You don't get anything more from running a 20k to a 30k long run, or even a 15 to a 20 or a 10 to a 15. You don't get much out of that. So if you just do what suits you the best and doesn't push you to the point where you rock up to your workouts and sets or you're absolutely smashed and hammered and not able to do the sets, then that's a good thing, and you don't want to be losing out on anything from that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you haven't really had that many problems with injury, if any. So
yeah, well, the worst I've had is I had 5 days out earlier this year from a back injury where I was just sleeping on my front with my neck turned to that side, and that's the longest injury I've ever had, just solely based on the fact of the way that I was sleeping, not anything to do with running. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Low mileage works.
That is true.
Yeah,
very true.
But yeah, thanks Gus for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Chat.
Definitely
cool to mix it up a bit and have a track athlete. All the best for college.
Thank you.
For those 4 or 5 years over there.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So yeah, cheers.
Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. There was some really good advice there from Angus, especially if you're considering going over to the USA for college. Make sure to take that on board. In terms of the next interview, next week I'm actually going to do another sort of training type video. So I'll get that out next week, and then I'll continue the following week on a Wednesday with a Kiwi athlete. So stay tuned for that. Cheers.